Hi guys, this is Neil. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be challenging myself to paint with my non-dominant hand. As you guys know, I'm right-handed, so I'll be painting with my left hand completely. I even somewhat filmed this mostly with my left hand. For this painting, I decided to use gouache paints instead of watercolor, but I'm basically going to treat it as watercolor since I'm going to use it lightly. But I have no stress on leaving white spaces because I can always go back over it again. And I also find that this paint is easier to guess the color when it's dry because it doesn't fade as much as watercolors. And I wouldn't have to paint with too many layers either. It's also easier to pile on the colors without worrying about transparency because it can turn opaque in a thick consistency, and it's just more reassuring to paint that way. Since I really didn't want to use my right hand for this one, I also made sure that the paint that I'm going to be using are also wet before I start, so I don't have to worry about constantly reactivating the paint. I just basically wanted to eliminate any unnecessary movement to make it easier. Before I continue on with this painting though, I would like to announce that I have a new class out on my Skillshare. This time I'll be covering the subject of cupcakes due to several requests. This class is a bit different to my usual class as this is mostly based around drawing or doodling without reference. It's mostly based off creativity, and the final project is also very open for you to create either a detailed drawing or a painting. As for me, I chose to do a painting for my final artwork, and I will take you through the whole process from learning to doodle the subject to ideation of composition, sketching, inking, and then the final painting. So if any of you are interested, you can go to the link in the description box for 2 months free premium membership if you've never been a member yet. And now let's get back to the painting itself. The reason why I'm painting this is not actually because I want to paint with my left hand, but if you guys have been following this channel for a while, you'll know from seeing my hands that I have a skin condition called eczema. I think I've also mentioned this in one of my videos before, and this is basically what I am going to ramble on about in today's video. So if you're not interested in listening, I totally understand, and you can just go ahead and mute the video and put your own background music if you're still wanting to see the painting. I know that this is an art channel and that most of you didn't really sign up to listen to me talk about my skin conditions and personal things, so I can totally understand. So for those of you who have never heard of dyshidrotic eczema, which is the type that I have, it basically affects the palm of your hands and soles of your feet with small blisters, and it will form next to and on top of each other, and when it dries it leaves deep cuts and cracks on the skin, which would leave really deep wounds, especially between the joints of the fingers, which can be very painful when it's in a really bad condition. And I had a really bad flare-up during this time when I was filming this, and seeing the nature of how it flares up day by day, I didn't really know how long it was going to take to clear up, which is why I just decided to paint with my left hand since it was bothering me so much due to the fact that I felt unable to do anything for several days prior to this already. During this time, I was very confused about the condition as I've been quite clear for several months due to some lifestyle changes. So I did a lot of research to see what was wrong, and at first I just searched for eczema and all the different allergies and things relating to it, like diets and things. I even tried a 3-day water fast as well as a 5-day water fast in 1 month, and though it healed the wounds quickly, the flares were still coming day by day, which led to deeper blisters and cuts within the skin. On top of this, I also noticed a lot of oozing, which is not uncommon. However, it had a very weird metallic scent, which I never noticed before. And this is when I started to search more about it, and I came across TSW, or topical steroid withdrawal. This is still all very new to me, but at first I just brushed it off because I felt like I haven't taken any steroid creams for a couple of years now. However, due to the nature of Google searches and the algorithm, YouTube started to suggest videos on TSW, and the more I watched, the more I felt like there were a lot of similarities within the symptoms that I've been dealing with. So for those of you who doesn't know much about eczema, it's inherited genetically, and up to this point, there are no cure for the condition. So to deal with the symptoms, if you go to the doctors, they would usually just prescribe you a small dose of steroid cream, and this would be instructed to be used for only about a couple of weeks. However, due to the nature of the skin condition, for me anyway, it's almost impossible for you to only use such little amount in a short amount of time, as it can get quite severe, especially due to the fact that my eczema is also on my right hand, which is my dominant hand, and it is the most affected. At some given point, those light steroid creams will become ineffective, and your body will need a higher dosage, as the flare up also spread across wider areas or even different parts of the body. And this will just continue to cycle, and each time you need to increase the concentration or dose of steroids. And this is how TSW come about. It's basically like an addiction where your body depends on the steroids that you keep feeding through the skin and straight to your system, so your body will stop producing those hormones. Knowing this, I thought to myself that I've stopped using steroid creams for a while, and all that I've used was this cream that someone gave to me. It's a Chinese cream which came in a tube, and the labels and writing were all in Chinese, so I couldn't really read it, and I trusted this person. And I also tried to search on the internet, and so many places claimed that it's a herbal cream. It was also quite cheap and easy to get, and the first time I used this, my eczema cleared up pretty well, and I thought that this was such an amazing herbal cream, so I always go back to it even if I only have a small rash. I even start using it for mosquito bites and small things like that. And then comes to a point where I was flaring as I was filming this, and just before then, it was already in such a bad condition, and no matter how much or how often I slathered the cream, it made no difference. In fact, I found that my skin was just weeping and oozing more, and it was becoming thinner and thinner, and it was just so gross and painful and very draining emotionally, because it just felt like my hand was trying to skin itself from the inside. So this time I decided to search for this cream and if it had steroids, and I came across an article which shocked me, somewhat angered me a bit, but also gave me relief. This article mentioned that someone got fined for selling the same cream that I've been using, because though it's not written in the label, the cream has a substance called dexamethasone. Dexamethasone is a long-acting systemic corticosteroid with potency 25 times greater than the short-acting products such as hydrocortisone. And to think that I was even off steroids now is just ridiculous. If anything, I have probably put on more than what the doctors would have prescribed. However, for once, this whole flare-up made more sense than it ever did, and I'm glad to be able to at least find the root of its cause. It's normal for the flare-up to also pop in places where it never flares before, according to a lot of people who has TSW. And for the moment, my right hand, I would probably call it very severe, but I'm also starting to slowly flare up on my left hand, my left wrist, and my right elbow, and also a little bit around the bottom of my face, like the sides of the nose and around my lips. And still, I have to say that I'm probably still considered as one of the lucky ones, as I've seen a lot of cases where people with TSW can suffer through their whole body in such a severe state with complete loss of hair. So I really hope it won't spread that much in my case, since it's just usually on my hands, and though I used quite a high dosage. There was a point where my hands was completely clear for a couple of months, so I didn't use any of the creams for a long time already until this current flare-up. The flare-up of this condition lasts differently with different people, so it could last for months up to years, and even if the flare clears up one day, you might still get new ones until your system is clear of the toxins. This, however, does not heal me completely with eczema, but I think, or at least I hope, that it won't be near this painful when the whole body recovers. At this point, the only thing to do for me is just basically to ride the wave and let the flare-up leave on its own and let your body get rid of it and start producing the hormones by itself. As simple as it sounds though, it's actually going to be very painful for quite a long time. Like saying this now, it has been a month since I painted this painting, and it's still in a bad condition where the skin is so dry and stiff that I can't really bend my fingers. And just to type this, I'm only using my thumb and middle finger on my right hand because those two fingers are what's available for me to slightly bend for the day. Throwing my fingers in a fist is impossible unless I want to create deep cracks. I mean, it's very exhausting to put up with, and I've slowly learnt how to depend on using one hand, which is my non-dominant hand, for most of my daily tasks like brushing my teeth, showering, cooking, and I'm also slowly learning to write with my left hand, even though it still looks hideous, and you will see a bit of this at the end of the video, but hopefully I will slowly be able to adapt, because I think that learning to do things with my left hand will ease off a bit of the stress rather than feeling completely disabled because I'm unable to use my right hand. So for the future of this channel, since I greatly depend on my hands, on the days where I am able to, I'll try to paint for ideas or film, which I already have a couple lined up already that I need to edit. But basically, in the next coming tutorials, you'll see me wearing gloves until the flare disappears, and I'll just wear them again if they decide to flare up again. So I hope you guys are not weirded out and you understand if you see that in the coming tutorials. There are days where I won't be able to even wear gloves if my hands are very raw and the skin is very thin and oozing, because in those days if I wear a glove and then I take it off, I'll just end up peeling off more skin. I hope I can still manage the schedule where I post once a week, but if not, I hope you guys can understand. And if anyone asks me about why I'm wearing gloves for my tutorials, I hope you guys can help me refer them to this video so I don't have to keep explaining myself. For the moment, I only have funky colored gloves, so I also apologize if the color is a bit distracting. I'm also ordering skin colored ones though, so it's less distracting in the future, but hopefully the material is also good enough to use and is not too thin. Those are the things that I'm mostly conscious of for the video at the moment, because it would be a bit awkward if the gloves start to have red specks. And just for the sake of informing those of you who might be using some unknown herbal medicine, I'll just link some of the articles regarding TSW and the cream that I was using in the description box in case any of you might be using the same thing or even going through the same ordeal. The most informative website that I would probably recommend is itsan.org. There are a lot of information regarding the topic, including stories of members and a lot of support. As much as I hope that none of you watching are going through the same thing, but if any of you are, I hope that some of the articles, websites, and videos that help me could also be of use to you as well. So that's pretty much it for this video. I'm sorry if there are no tutorials again this week. I'll try my best to edit the couple of stocks that I already have, and hopefully I'll get back to you with another tutorial by next week. As usual, all of the links to my social media accounts as well as the tools I used will be in the description box. I'll also leave a link to the reference photo in case any of you are interested in painting it. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching till the end and hearing me out, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye!